Kumlan and Black Gemara. Today's daf is daf Zion. We are up to the Gemara here, actually in the middle of the page, where the person offered to rebuild the entire house, and yet by right he couldn't force the other person to move so that he can do whatever he wants to do. We're up to the first wide line, the end of the first wide line. Anu Beitre Achi. These two brothers, the Pogi Badodi, they divided the estate between each other. Chad Matche Ispalida. One of them ended up in Ispalida. What exactly in Ispalida? Rashi learns in Ispalida. There are three opinions here. Rashi learns Ispalida means a mansion, beautiful big home. Taisha brings one opinion to the read that Ispalida means a cave. That's right. Not that the Aruch says it means a cave, but the Reed says it can't mean over here. We'll see in the context of Gemara. But the Reed learns, and this is negated to further Gemara, that it's a porch. So it's basically many windows. One side is completely open. Plenty of, was bathed in sunlight. Okay. And the other sibling, Matche Tabitza, ended up with a garden. Also, who the Matche Tabitza, the one who had a garden, wanted he built a wall, a pumba to the very boundary of his garden, which basically was the front entry of the palace, and he blocked of the mansion, and he blocked the guy's window, the sunlight. You're taking away my sunlight. This is one of the biggest, causes of rejection or people who are upset with different proposals because you're blocking my sunlight. But did he come in? I'm building the wall on my side. So that he's within his rights. He built the wall on his side, and Rashi says, they're talking about it here, you don't have a chazaka of 3 years. If for 3 years you had a window there with no and no wall there, then I can't come along and put a wall up there. But because we both just received these properties, because we just inherited from our father, so therefore you have no rights. So here we see clearly Rashi the chazak is 3 years, and I told you this is called cheskas tashmish. I told you yesterday there are two other opinions. One is 30 days. That was not Rashi in the Gemara. That was a Tosis. It's interesting. You have a few additions to Rashi's, so we're not sure exactly who wrote it. And there's just 30 days, and then we had a Rashbam and Tesis in the previous daf, the Bava Basra Daf, that it says it's alter straight away. Bottom line is, I can build a wall there. On the Rashi, about the time, how's it will be learned? Two brothers, they divided. Another son can take care of it. They love on. One guy ended with a vineyard, one guy ended up with an ordinary field, let's say a wheat field. Yes, the Balked, so they love him. The Bala Kedem, part of the inheritance automatically is allowed for Amos in this. They love him to take care of his vine. He needed to take the cow and to plow around his vines, and the cow has to maybe turn around. So you need 4 Amos of space. So I'm not asking Choku. That was part of the understanding of the divisions. No, so the same thing here. When a guy has a house, he wants to have the sunlight. Let me ask you a question. Over there is talking about that obviously the guy who ended up with the vineyard was more valuable. He paid extra for receiving the vineyard, and included in that payment was the rights to be able to tend to the vineyard. Says the Gemara, so he counters back. He says to him, Rabbi says to Rashi, in other words, he got an impression. One guy ended with a mansion, one guy ended with a garden. You think that's a fair division? The high shakos bleed, the high shakos habits, the guy ended with a mansion, the guy ended with a garden. The old dud, you don't think that was compensation involved? And there was, and therefore automatically we should include the compensation. The guy who paid extra for the house paid also for the sunlight. Amalei said no. True, he had to pay extra. The Meilivnik, Shude, Behudi paid for the bricks and the basic beams and the nice beams. But the Meilivnik he didn't pay for the sunlight. Now, what do you call it? So Pesha says. Okay, wait a minute. What do you mean? You let him argue. I bought a mansion, or I got a mansion. You got to be a dark room. It's not a house. You can't live in a house without any sunlight and fresh air. I'm going to say no. It's called a house. It's dark, too bad. Now, so according to a rationalizing about it seems that he completely obscured any sunlight into the person's house. And too bad. I have a right to block your sunlight. That's Rashi. Teishes learns, Rabbein is two other opinions. Rabbein Tam learns, that's nothing more to it. There's no way you have, even the no chazaka. How can I go and take away your sunlight? You know what's talking about here? Rabbein Tam says, a totally different case. And in the case over here, I have a right to block your window. From your window, you had a vista to your garden, which was like 100 yards or 100 meters away. And now I put a wall there blocking your views. You got a view to the ocean, and I'm blocking your views. Okay? Well, too bad then. You have no chazak and all that. But sunlight, you can't live in a house without sunlight. You have no right. That's mamash hezek. That's the main time. The relearns, no, it's talking about here a porch. So what I did was I'm blocking some of the sunlight. You still have ample sunlight there, but a porch, you want it to be, soaked in sunlight. And it's not soaked in sunlight anymore because I blocked one of the sides, let's say, but you have plenty of sunlight on the other side. But a house, says the you can't just come along and put a wall there and block the guy's sunlight. It's not living. You can't live that way. Then the hamachlek is the reverse. Can the guy in the garden tell the guy in the house, you must close up your windows so it has agreement? You're in the house, you're looking right into my garden and see, well, the other way around. The guy in the garden can look into the house. That's a separate discussion. So, and where do you find, we already had this before, just recently, where do you find that if this is called by a certain name, even though it's not really what you thought it was, too bad. Milatana, didn't we learn, if somebody says, base code of animal, if somebody said a base code is 30 saw. A saw is 50 by 50 amas. The Mishkan was 2 saw, was 100 long and 50 wide. So a saw, a code is 30 saw, basically 1500 by 50 amas. That's what a saw is, or any particular dimensions. So afa pish ein l'sach, you only got half a saw. Higil. You only got half a saw. You got to know. Even though there's only 15 saw in the garden, the deal's a deal. Why? He told me a base code. He gave him. He said, "I'm telling you, this field is known as a base code, even though it wasn't a base code. We sell urns. We call it a 10-liter urn. It's not actually 10 liters, 9.7. And we had somebody said it'll take us to court for deception. They went to ACC, and they said you have every right to call it a 10-liter. That's what it's called. Okay, but it's pretty close to it. Here, it's like half. But remember, we learned ain't oinola karkos. By karka, there's no stealing. We had a machlekes.
You got to do your homework.
No, because property eventually will reach that one. It's not worth today that price. It'll be worth today some other price. There is a machlekes where Rabbi Tam's famous opinion. He holds that even though there's no but there's bittul mekach when it reaches. If you doubled it, you can't go any higher than double the price. Any higher than double the value, that's already the deal falls away. Anyway, but who was the Miskadi base code? It had to be known as a base code. If you just made it up right now, then that's deception. But if it was known as this is the 30 saw property, even though it turned out to be only 15 saw, it's a deal. Pardas in the I said you an orchard full of pomegranates. I'll be ashamed of the money. No pomegranates there. He gave the deal. He gave him the name, and which we just learned about 3 weeks ago about Mitzvah. But who the Miskadi Pardas? Kedem saying a vineyard. Afa pi she'ein b'legefanim. He gave the deal. Deal shleimochalei elish was the name. Who the Miskadi Karma? So bottom line is that 2 brothers they settled an estate. One guy ended up with the house, and one guy ended up with a garden. The guy in the garden put a wall up and blocked the guy's sun. Since we just came in new, there's no chazaka that your windows are entitled to any sunlight. I have every right to put a wall there. The guy tied I got a house. I even paid a little bit extra because I got the house. A house needs sunlight. As long as it's still called a house, even though there's no sunlight, it's called a house. Okay, the Tej already asked, the Shem asked, why don't you just look how much money he paid? Then you can tell whether he bought 30 saw. We're saying the main thing is the name, and that's what it's called, even though I ended up giving you something less, a 30 saw, and I'll call it base code. It turned out to be 15 saw, you can't have any recriminations against me. We had this in the Bava. So Tej said, look at how much you paid, you'll right away tell. So Tej says, it's talking about a case where you paid less than even what 15 saw is worth. So money no longer indicates to us anything. But Tej adds one proviso, this other Shem disagree, that you had to be aware that this field was called a base code field. Not that you just told me I'm selling you 30 saw. If I'm telling you I'm selling you 30 saw and you had no idea that's what the name of the field was, then you were deceived. You have to know that it was called that way. Anyways, going further, I don't understand. Okay, but since they're yashing their father, why can't the brother who owns the house say, look, I'm yashing my father and all of his rights. When he lived in that house, was there a wall stack? Was there a wall up there that blocking the window? No, you decided to put one up now. I inherited not just the house, but the house in the condition. Yeah, the condition that he had it is. When I ask the question, me dummy, you tell me it's a story about base code. Look, I told you the name. When we settled this estate, I wanted to continue living the way our father lived it. They said back to him, Mar Yenuka, Mar Kshisha, Brei Rav Chizda, Le Ravashi. So the sons of Rav Chizda said to Ravashi, they must have lived a long time, but usually we understand Mar Yenuka is junior and Mar Kshisha is senior. I mean, what kind of names? But Taisus comes along here and for whatever reason turns it around. Because why is Mayanuka's name first? Usually the older brother comes before the younger brother. So Taisus learns that Mayanuka was actually older. So why is he called Yenuka, the young one? Because he was born when his father was young. And Mar Kshisha was born when his father was old. It says Ravashi, Neherdoya Tamai, all these Amoraim from the Doy, even though they didn't live in the same time. Shmuel, Rav Chama, they're all following the same view. That is, the Amar Shmuel, Ha'achin Shecholku, two brothers divided the state. This is Shmuel, he's from the Doy. I remember Shmuel said, the streets of the Doy, I know the stars like the streets of the Doy, like the back of my hand. Ha'achin Shecholku, two siblings that divide an estate. Ein lehen loy derech zelzeh. They cannot say, well, I am entitled, you get that yard, I get this yard, I'm entitled since our father walked through this yard, your yard, to get to my yard, I'm entitled with that as well. No, you're not. And the same thing with windows, blocking the light, you can't have any complaints. Nor ladders. So Rashi learns ladders means that one person ended up with the house and the chutzner, and the other person ended up with the second story. And how do you get to the second story? By putting a ladder against the house, and you have to walk through the chutzner. And you don't have automatically the right, you have to negotiate it. And Tesha doesn't like it because that's the same thing as derech zelzeh. So Tesha doesn't know. The guy upstairs also got the courtyard, but the guy downstairs did not. And you upstairs want to put the ladder against the guy downstairs' house to get to your house. Because that's how our father did it. The staircase was a ladder, and the ladder was outside in the chutzner that belongs upstairs, but it was leaning against the downstairs wall. Can't do that. And nor I cannot, the water that goes through your property so that eventually get to mine. I don't automatically have that right. Follow this carefully because these are the halachas. What's the logic? So some of the Shayim say the logic is, in faces here as well, with the Rush others, the logic is based on Rabbi Akiva's view, which we'll have later about Basra. When a meicher sells something, are you generous or are you skimpy? Does the meicher hold back things, or if the meicher sells you a boil, does he sell buying you off the meicher? That's the way to get to the boil. Or do we say, what, jump in? No, do we say, I sold you the boy, it was right in the middle of my property. I never sold you the right to get to that boy. I just sold you the boy, yeah. Helicopter your way in, parachute your way in. Or do we say, Meicher, Ba'ayin Yafa, Meicher? Since over here, both brothers are selling to each other, Ba'ayin Yafa, so therefore I'm giving you everything up on your yard. So I'm giving you up the road. Had it not been for that, me only one Meicher, then we would say, Meicher, Yafa, Meicher. Let's say, the guy in the house is selling the yard to somebody. Oh, sorry, the guy in the yard is selling the house to somebody. He automatically would have given them a pathway through his yard to get to the house. But over here, they're both selling to each other, and therefore neither of them retain anything for themselves. That's why I have all these issues. And Rav says yes, they do have, but Allah like Shmuel. So talking about Abchama, Ahushtar, another din totally extraneous to the subject, but it's for Abchama, Ahushtar, the star, the Yasmin Yisayim, the Nafigala Tava. There's a star from Yisayim, the father died, that and the star said that this person owed their father money. But that person had a receipt. So the problem, on the one hand, you say you cannot collect with a star because the guy has a receipt. But you don't rip up the star either. Now the guy has a receipt. We have a receipt. The chigodli yasme, when the Yisayim grow up, maybe they can prove that the star is fraudulent. They will put your questions on the star. All these cases, who's Allah like? Everything Rav Chama said till now, Allah because we said yesterday, but when it comes to how to a rule, the law is cold, brutal. We don't have Rachmanis, but levar metabla, except the case of the receipt. What are you saying? That we're saying that maybe they'll grow up and they'll be able to prove that the star was fraudulent. There's two witnesses signed in there. Why would you think it's fraudulent in the first place? As well. Why? What's the logic? Because the imish, on the other hand, there's a question. You know the question is? There's some doubts. The im isa, the tabra malyu, if it was a good receipt, then why didn't he ever produce it before, while the father was still alive? Afke didn't produce it. Maybe that the host, not that witnesses are false, but maybe the Malva, sorry, the Loiva, who owes money to the same father, forged a star, forged this document. Big machlekes in Shulchan Aruch. What do you mean? Why would you have to produce the star? You say you should have produced it. You have a receipt. You go walk around and show everybody your receipts that you paid. I mean, what's ideal here? So the Samer.
A rule of how long we expect to keep it. Only if it was 3 years.
That's what Karka. Here that's what machlekes if you believe in shave or not, because it's not fair. What about the mice will come and eat it up? It's not fair. You do. It's not fair. That's why some people will say there's no whatever. We'll get to these subjects as well. So some say it's talking about it here only. Generally no such thing, and we believe the guy with the receipt. It's talking about that the father asked him for the money while he was alive, and he did not produce the receipt when his father claimed the money. So therefore, it arouses our suspicions. And how come the star then still in existence? In that case, there, why do we believe if there's a receipt was never asked for before? Then of course he's believed. So why would the star there? Because it's quite possible that the Malva said, "Oh, I lost the star. You know what? I'll give you a receipt." And the Malva was hoping that one day this guy will lose the receipt and then will produce the star and say, I don't think you paid me this yet. And if the guy doesn't have a receipt, he has to pay again. So that's what it is. The best thing is to give people these 5-year warranties, but you tell them you must give me a receipt. Yeah. How many people keep a receipt for 5 years? How many live for a year?
My wife for 50 years.
Okay. You need to be a hoarder sometimes. Says the Mishnah. Koifin oisei livneis beishar. If few people live in a share a courtyard, we can force each other to build a beishar and a delus lachatzer. A chatzer had a door. You want to keep the public out, but it also had a guard or a little gate right by the door where a guard can be, because people might stop and try to look over the door through cracks or see what's going on. And you want privacy, so you have a guard to shoo the people away. We can force each other to do that. Shimgula says, not every chatzah requires a beishar. It depends, as we'll see. If you're near the contiguous shusharabim or you're more distant from shusharabim. The Chareim have a hard time understanding what right do you have to force me to contribute to this. If I cause you damage, you force me. I have to remove the damage. But if I'm not the one who's causing you the damage, it's the public. So what right do you have to force me to pay, to give money to it? On what basis? So some want to say maybe because Hakok to Mining Hamadina, we learned before the first Mishnah. If the Mining Hamadina is to that everyone contributes in the street, for our security, our privacy, then you have to join in. Okay, so that might make sense if I bought into the property. It's as if it's an unwritten agreement. You moved into this neighborhood. This is the way, it's traditional how we conduct this other neighborhood. But if a guy, let's say, has a Yerusha, he never moved in, never bought anything, he asked it from his father. So on what basis do you force him? On what basis do you force him? Unless, and if indirectly, because people are looking in, the values of the houses are worth less. So I'm only a grumman than a zikin by not contributing. So they don't really have an answer. What is the logic that you can force me? You are very worried about your privacy. Go pay for the wall yourself, or get by shah yourself. Anyway, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, okay. Next thing is in people in one city, all the denizens of the same city. We can force that we need to around the city. We need to fortify the walls, and we have to put a number of doors, and we have to also put out bolts to make sure we're safe. Shebach said, not every city, depends if you're near the border or not near the border of the city. How long do you have to be in the city to be considered a member of the city, and that you have to start paying all your dues? You'd base 12 months. You live 12 months in the city, you're considered a member of that city. If you purchase the house there, miyad. But stock is all the things, that's how we get to stockers. You consider a member of the city. Big Machlek is showing the Mordechai and others. What happened if you bought a house in the city but you don't live there? So you hold it home. Do you have to actually live there to be considered a citizen, or the fact that you own a house is sufficient to that you have to pay all the taxes and everything else, and you're now responsible? So think about it. Remember, so theme from here, the Beishar, I'll use it from here. It seems that the Beishar is a good thing. How are you forcing me to contribute to this Beishar? So let me ask you a question. There was this Chassid, Eliyahu, the Havi Mishtay Bahade, that Elio, and Navi used to talk to him all the time. Over Beishar, one day he contributed money or he built a Beishar in his property. Sula Mishtay Bahade, Elio refused to join him. And why? Because you're preventing the poor people. Because what happens now is when you have a Beishar, where would a poor person try to come into your house? If you have a door, he knocks on the door. But if you have a house in front of the door and then the door, you won't even hear it, the knocking on the outside. They'll never hear it. So since you did something to prevent the poor people from coming, Elio wasn't interested. We have a number of answers. Sometimes the Beishar is all right, sometimes not all right. That if the Beishar is inside, in other words, you have the door of the chutzner, and then behind the door there's a Beishar. You'll stand in the door of the chutzner, bang away. Nobody can hear you because the Beishar is sort of obstructing the noise. But if the Beishar is on the outside, you can no door is a Beishar. You can walk right into the Beishar and get to the door of the chutzner and knock, and people bang in the door, and people will hear you. So therefore, that's the difference. Whether it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. That's my answer. Or Iboy say, the Beishar on the outside, like Asha. Hard the east, never going to work. That's a bad thing. Hard the less they devils. Yeah, Beishav, it's just a guard to sit there for to protect it from the shade. There's no door there, so you can walk inside and bang on the door of the chutz, so they'll hear you. Answer number 3. If the door is constantly open, there's a lock there, and you can just turn the handle and go in. So then no problem, walk in and not bang. But if there's a door there and you can't get in, then obviously it's a bad thing. Or you buy same. The east of this lock. The lock is from the internal. You can only get in and out. You have to be inside, and the guy from the outside can't get in. That's a bad thing. But if they think the lock is on the outside, no problem. You can always walk in. Not every chutzner is suitable for Beishar. The only chutzner you really need is if it's near the Shus Rabbim, you want to, people will stop and crane their necks to see what's going on. Okay, so you have a guard there. But if you're off a side street in a cul-de-sac, nobody's around, why should I contribute? What do you call it? But not adjacent to a Shus Rabbim. Ain't really Beishar. How can Rabbanan hold that even then you need Beishar? Because zingin the dochki b'nei the Shus Rabbim. Sometimes it's very common Shus Rabbim. People go off on the side and they will be able to crane the necks and see inside there. But you need a Beishar there as well. Then he continues about a wall around the city. Only those cities which are near the border, they're dangerous. Not near the border, ain't Rabbanan. Zimnin the mikra of sometimes these hoodlums they'll go in even though it's beyond the border, as we just found out. Boy, Abelazar asked an interesting question. Okay, you're collecting this tax for this wall around the city for protection. Lefina fashas gavin, idimma lefishavach mammon gavin. Do you collect according to your family of 10 and your family of 5? So you have to pay double what the guy of 5 is? Or do we look at the family of 5 is much wealthier than the family of 10, so you should contribute more? What this question boiled down to? So the Rishonim say the question boiled down to what happens there? Is the main purpose of these ganavim to steal your money, or these hoodlums to steal your money? Or the main thing is to terrorize you and kill you? If the main thing is pursuit of money, so then your money was spared because of this wall. So it goes according to the money. But if the main thing is saving lives, then you record to the fascists. Now, the reason the shaila goes a bit further. So what's the shaila? I mean, if it's money, then the shaila is, even if they're going for lives, if you pay them money, they'll leave you alone. How do we view that? Do we say, look, the fact is the main pursuit is to take lives, so therefore you should pay living fascists? Or do we say because since you can get out of it by giving them money, and by giving them money they'll go away and go somewhere else, so therefore ultimately it's about money, even though the initial purpose is the fascists, but money will save you. In that case, so then do we say no? This is called on a fascist case. Money is just a remedy, but it's on a fascist case or not. It's very similar to our achakir we had in the beginning of Mitzvah, the Rush and others. The Eid Echad is a Mechayev Shua. Single aid makes you swear, but if the Eid Echad, if you can't swear, then you have to pay money. So what's pshat? Is the Eid Echad really there to make you pay money? But the Torah says if you swear, that's a form of payment. Or the Eid Echad is only there to make you swear. But if you don't swear, then you brought upon yourself the money. Same thing here. These people are pursuing the fascists. But if you give them money, okay. And what the other way around? They come for money. If you don't give them any money, they'll kill you. How do we view that? Is that called the fascists or is that called mammon? Because do we say that ultimately it's for the fascists, or do we say since they're out for money, if you don't give them the money, then you brought upon yourself the fascists? Stop what they're here for. Same chakira. So that's what the most question is. Amalei says if your mama goes to money, those are really covered by Masrez, and the Abreich was so close to the Rabbalaz. He said, "Those are my son. Fixed nail. This is how it is." He can mother say, "Boy, that's another question." Rabbalaz, but Abreich saying, "Goyvil if you keep a button, goyvil if you mom and goyvil." You look how close you are to the wall. Usually, when they come in, the mortars where they come in, the first house they'll attack are the ones near the wall. So you go according to how close you are to the wall, or you go according to money. Big Malchek is showing is this version arguing the previous version, or this is an addition. In other words, many Yisrael like this. After we established that it goes according to affluence, according to your economic status, now we're saying, what happens? You have two people, similar economic, both middle class. One guy lives near the wall and one guy lives further away. They both give the same amount, or within that socioeconomic group, those who are closer pay more, those who are further pay less. So they're not arguing. That's one version. Very interesting. In Simon and Gimel, look it up in the end of Nor Chai. Simon and Gimel talks about paying for a chazan in a shul. Does it go lefina fashes? How many people in the house? You have a hanoah from the chazan or whatever, and my Rav as well, or is it lefi mom and how affluent you are? Maybe you don't have too much hanoah, and therefore you just it's a duty on a shul.
By where your seat is.
Oh, sometimes people sit in the back should pay more, not less.
You're behind the dimmer.
Exactly, or you don't have to hear the chazan. Anyway, so further. The law of he said to him, creak your button depending where you are and fix nails. Second one, Rabbi Yehuda in the sea, Rabbi Yehuda in the sea, live in a tax on Rabbanon. He said, Rabbanon, we had this also in the end of Mitzvah. Rabbanon don't pay. When it comes to safety, they don't pay. You see, it says, Espra Mechel, I'll count them, they're more than sand. Espra, who's he counting? Ilem Tzadikim, the future Mechol. How can Tzadikim be more than the sand physically? Hashbek Kuli Yisrael Mother, Tari Klai Yisrael, it says, Kachoy Lashav Sasayam, we're no more than the sand near the water. Tzadikim Atzah Mechol Gimel, it's a more Tzadikim than Klai Yisrael. Allah come, Espra Masayim Tzadikim, I'll count their deeds. Mechol Gimel, they're more than sand. And the Kalvachemer, now we have a Kalvachemer. Madachol Shemuet. Madach sand, which is much less. Megin alayam prevents the water from flowing, into the city and streets, from overflowing, is breaching the banks. Ma'aseim shatadikim merubin is so much more. The koshkin surely shmeginim alayim protects them. Ki also the kamei Rabbi Yechon Amalei said, my time why don't you learn? Why don't you say the following passage, which is more obvious? Ani choyme, I'm a wall, and v'shadai kimigdol, I'm a wall, and my breasts are like towers. Ani choyme is a Torah. Torah is a wall. That's our protection. And v'shadai kimigdol is elu tamid achamim. Shadai kimigdol, because they nurse their children from there, so they're nursing. They're teaching others. So these are tamid achamim. The big argument here. I mean, even though it looks like they're talking in psukim. I'll tell you in a second. The Shlokish holds. The Rabbi said, "Ani chayme." I hold that this pasuk ani chayme is a different thing altogether. Ani chayme is alluding to connected to Klal Yisrael. But these are referring to the shuls. They're arguing that follows. What about a guy is a tzaddik but not a Talmid Chacham? He does a lot of ma'asim tevim. The rule is he's not a Talmid Chacham. According to the Shlokish, it's Ma'asei and Shel Tzadikim that protects. According to Rabbi Yechon, it's only learning Torah. And they're arguing, Ma'asei Torah without Torah, you're not a Chacham, you can't, whatever the reason is. Are you still protected or not? Getting further, you should know this Gemara is very relevant today and very, very political. Nachman Rav Chizda, Roma Kagra, Rav Chizda levied a tax on the Rabban. Nachman said to Rav Nachman Rav Chizda, you levied a tax Chachamim avarta deraisa, you over the Torah, ad levi a pasuk levim, aksu a pasuk ksuvim. Ad deraisa, Siva says in Zoysa Baruch, it says af chayviv amim. It says that Eibishter af chayvim, while you love the nations, All the tzaddikim and kedoshim are still in your hands. What's he saying? Even when you love the goyim and you're giving them, that their status is higher than Eden, kol kedoshim the tzaddikim are still taken care of by you. They hang two clear left, but then they'll go ahead and they'll walk on their feet. Tanya Rabbi Yosef said, "Elu talmidei chachamim shemekatzim ragleim," that they go ahead and they schlepplich me'ir le'ir, from city to city, medina to country to country. What to do? What? Lil my Torah. So you'll protect the people who are learning Torah. Rabbi Yosef said again, it's talmidei chachamim who learn Torah. It says Lil my. Yisa Rabchi is the one who went to the Lamed Shiva. Yisa Medabrisecha, what I mean, Lisa, why are they traveling from the city? Lisa Velitim Bedivroisa Shemakar. They want to sit and engage in a conversation on your Torah. So you're over that for levying a tax. They don't need your protection. They're just protecting Tamil Chachamim. Next, Adanavi. This even says, Gam ki yitnu bagoyim, even when we place them amongst the goyim, ata kapcham, I will go ahead, I will gather them together, ayachaylu ma'at, and I will release them a little bit, masa mel, starting from the taxes and the loads of the king and the officers. V'amar Ula said, what's going on here? Pasik zeh. Says yitnu, you think it means place in Hebrew, but Pasuk there, Beloshan Aramis number. Imagine it's written Aramis. The word yitnu in Aramis, because in Aramis a tough Hebrew shin becomes a tough. Like Isha becomes Itza, a shin becomes a tough. So imagine it says Kiyishnu. You learn by going. Nemar itnu kulo atakaptim. If you learn if majority of the Yidden learn Torah, I'll take them away from the guy. No, but no guy will ever touch a Yid. Any Yid, but only a few Yidden will learn Torah. They at least will benefit. I would lighten the load. Actually, the psukim, it says in the pasuk that what do you call it? Mindu b'olay v'holach. That these three different kinds of taxes, I will not put on them. That's the general tax from the king. Bolos go to the head tax, and that's a tax on levy that you have to pay, income tax, 10%, whatever it is. Okay, we'll stop moving to you tomorrow. Why? It's really like this next part as well, but that basically is whether Frumi Eden should go to the army or not. They have to protect themselves is all around here, and also the Gemara during the Lamed Beitzim, Avraham Avinu Barangaria, and other Gemaras, whether not only, we'll trade tomorrow. Okay, have a good day, everybody.